Located within the Huntington Library, Art Museum, and Botanical Gardens, Liu Fang Yuan, the Garden of Flowing Fragrance, is one of the finest classical-style Chinese gardens outside of China. Filled with Chinese plants and framed by exquisite architecture, the landscape is enriched with references to literature and art. Visitors can find both physical relaxation and mental stimulation when exploring the dramatic 15-acre garden. Nestled within the sprawling grounds of the Huntington Library, Art Museum, and Botanical Gardens, the Chinese Garden, known as Liu Fang Yuan, or the Garden of Flowing Fragrance, feels less like a tourist attraction and more like stepping into a living Chinese landscape painting. Inspired by the classical gardens of Suzhou, it is considered one of the finest Chinese-style gardens outside China and spans roughly 15 acres of lakes, bridges, pavilions, stone pathways, and carefully framed views. Walking into the garden, the first thing many visitors notice is the sudden shift in atmosphere. The busy sounds of Southern California seem to fade away behind whitewashed walls and moon gates. Instead, you hear the gentle movement of water, the rustling of bamboo leaves, and occasionally the soft echo of traditional Chinese instruments during live performances. The garden was designed according to centuries-old Suzhou garden principles, where every turn in the path reveals a carefully composed scene, almost like pages of a scroll painting slowly unfolding before your eyes. At the center of the garden lies the lake of reflected fragrance, a calm body of water that mirrors the surrounding architecture and trees. Elegant bridges arch over the lake, including the famous Jade Ribbon Bridge, whose graceful curve instantly draws photographers and visitors alike. Around the water stand ornate pavilions with poetic names like the Pavilion of the Three Friends, the Love for the Lotus Pavilion, and the Hall of the Jade Camellia. Each structure is rich with symbolism rooted in Chinese literature and philosophy. One of the most fascinating aspects of Liu Fang Yuan is how authentic it feels. Much of the visible building material, roof tiles, carved wood, granite, and decorative stone, was brought directly from China. Skilled artisans from Suzhou traveled to California to assemble the structures using traditional techniques passed down for generations. Yet beneath the old-world craftsmanship lies modern engineering that allows the garden to withstand California earthquakes while remaining accessible to visitors. The garden is also deeply symbolic. In classical Chinese gardens, nothing is placed randomly. Rocks represent mountains and stability. Water symbolizes reflection and the flow of life. Plants carry literary meanings tied to virtues and seasons. Bamboo stands for resilience, plum blossoms for perseverance, lotus flowers for purity, and pine trees for endurance through hardship. Even the windows and pathways are designed to frame specific perspectives, creating intentional moments of beauty and contemplation. As you wander farther into the garden, you begin to notice how the scenery constantly changes. Narrow corridors suddenly open into wide courtyards. Small doorways frame distant mountains. One path leads toward waterfalls and rock formations, while another reveals quiet bamboo groves or hidden seating areas beside the water. The newer expansion introduced dramatic features like the stargazing tower, which offers sweeping views of both the garden and the distant San Gabriel Mountains beyond. Designers borrowed this surrounding scenery as part of the composition, a classical Chinese landscaping technique known as borrowed scenery. Another highlight is the Penjing Collection, China's ancient art of miniature landscapes, closely related to Japanese bonsai. In the verdant microcosm section of the garden, visitors can admire meticulously shaped miniature trees displayed almost like sculptures. Tiny forests, twisted trunks, and weathered rocks create the illusion of entire mountain landscapes in miniature form. What makes the garden especially memorable is that it is not merely decorative, it is alive with culture. Traditional Chinese music performances, opera excerpts, art exhibitions, calligraphy displays, and seasonal festivals frequently take place here. The garden functions much like the scholarly retreats of ancient China, where poetry, painting, philosophy, and nature were meant to exist together harmoniously. Visitors often describe the Chinese garden as the emotional centerpiece of the Huntington On Reddit and travel forums, many people call it the most beautiful section of the entire estate, praising its peaceful atmosphere and cinematic scenery. Some visitors even choose it as a proposal location because of its secluded corners, bridges, and tranquil lakeside pavilions. There is also something remarkable about experiencing such a deeply traditional Chinese landscape in Southern California. Ancient Suzhou Garden philosophy merges unexpectedly with California sunlight, mature live oaks, and distant mountain backdrops. The result feels both authentically Chinese and uniquely Californian at the same time. By the time you leave Liu Fang Yuan, the experience lingers with you. It is not a garden designed for rushing through. It invites you to slow down, observe details, and appreciate silence, reflection, and balance. Whether you come for photography, architecture, cultural history, or simply a peaceful afternoon walk, the Huntington's Chinese Garden offers a rare experience, a place where art, nature, literature, and philosophy quietly blend into one harmonious world.